Hey everyone, this is John from EastCoastArmory.com, and I'm here today with a model showcase video for this 1/16 scale radio-controlled early production German Tiger I. The model that you see here is built for commission and belongs to a private collector. I often take on build projects from scales ranging between 1/35 scale all the way up to 1/6 scale. As for availability and pricing information, that information can be best by contacting me through the email address listed below, which is info@eastcoastarmory.com. Before I continue with the video, if any of my viewers are watching this might be feeling a little bit of deja vu, that's because this is the second incarnation of the Tiki Tiger I that I have built. The first version was built for my private collection, and that model was based off of a Henlong model. The customer saw that video, which is posted on my video listings. He liked the model so much that he went ahead and contacted me and sent me this Taigen 1/16 scale radio control Tiger in order for me to transform it into the Tiki tank to the same specs that he saw in the video. This model, being a Taigen, featured several different features as well as upgrades that the model received compared to the Henlong. I'll be going over these additions and repairs in this video. First, a quick walk around the model. Like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, the model started off as a pre-built, fully radio-controlled 1/16 scale Tiger from Taigen. This version here was I believe the all-metal option, in that it has the metal track, the metal suspension, and as well as the metal gearbox and metal turret. From what I've seen with this model, the Taigen offering is a product improved version of the Henlong Tiger I, and both of those vehicles actually have their roots with the Tamiya 1/16. Since this model is really a improved version of the Henlong, it featured many of the same corrections that I made to the Henlong, which is mentioned in the other video. The model, when it was delivered to the shop, was not in running condition, and several repairs were needed to be made to it. Somewhere along the tank's life, it was dropped on this portion here of the vehicle, and the tank suffered some damage, namely that to the rear idler wheels. To illustrate the repairs that were made to the rear idler wheel, here goes the original idler that the tank had. This is the original Taigen die-cast idler. As you can see, it still has the original paint job on it. They are made out of die-cast metal, and as you can see, are assembled with a tongue and groove style assembly, in which you would then epoxy or super glue the wheel together, and it mounts securely. The system is not terrible. However, one feature that made this wheel break was the design of the idler mount itself. After doing some research on the internet, it seemed that these first generation Taigen Tiger I's featured this problem. The shaft that connects the idler mount to the adjustable idler system was deemed to be too thin and was susceptible to breakage, like you see here. The system was redesigned, and the newer generation of Taigen Tiger I's have this problem alleviated. Taigen also sells the new redesigned idler shafts as a upgrade for any of the first generation Tiger I's. The setup was a simple drop-in installation, and the idler wheels were quickly replaced. Also, in addition to the idler shaft, another part that was improved was that of the wheel itself. Like I showed before, the wheel was assembled via epoxies and adhesives. The new design of idler wheel actually screws together with two small fasteners that are located in the back of the wheel. This system proves to be a lot more durable than the adhesive system that we have here. In addition to the rear idler wheels, the entire rear plate of the vehicle was also damaged. The rear plate was actually cracked, and the crack ran from this portion here down and then up again to the other mud flap. The model was disassembled when the project was started, and the rear plate was repaired. All the cracks were eliminated, and the plate itself was reinforced with reinforcement plates as well as epoxy backing. Once the rear plate was repaired, it was remounted in the position we see here, and the bodywork was done so that the piece is seamless, and one would never have been able to guess that the piece was once broken. Moving our way back down takes us to the tank suspension. The suspension on the Taigen Tiger I is phenomenally done and is better than both the Henlong and even arguably that of the Tamiya. The suspension has real rubber rim tires, and the inner wheel actually has the double tire present. This is an improvement over the Henlong in that the Henlong tires were molded plastic, and the center tire was just a wide plastic tire with no division for that of the two rubber tires which are present on these Tiger I's. The material is made out of die-cast metal, and it has a lot of crisp detailing that's molded in. As for the way they are mounted to the tank, this is done with a single Allen bolt that runs directly through the center of the wheel and into the swing arm. The system is very robust and is also very realistic, and you have the hex fastener detailing which is present on the real early production Tiger I's. One quick tip though I recommend is that on the real Tiger I, their center portions are actually painted with red. This is present on the Bovington Tiger as well. A simple drop of red paint on each of the centers of the Allen screws, as well as a little drop of red paint here on the supplied Zerk fitting that's molded into the sprocket hub, really help the model pop and bring out some extra detailing. Also, while we're on the front, the sprocket is made out of die cast, which is also an improvement from the Henlong, in that the Henlong sprocket and idler wheels were just made out of plastic. As for the track is another component that is a lot better and more improved than even that of the Tamiya. To compare the tracks, here I have a Henlong track. The Henlong track is a basic straight-up copy from the Tamiya. As you can see, on the interior portion of the track, just like with the Tamiya King Tiger, the center hinges are left exposed. This is done for molding purposes. Also, the teeth are solid and do not have their little mud slit in them. On the Taigen incarnation, though, the track is not only made out of die-cast metal, but has its full hinge present on the track, as well as the small little mud slit that is present on the tooth. It's difficult to see in the shot, but these details are present on the stock Taigen track. Absolutely no aftermarket components are required for this portion here of the vehicle. Moving on to the front of the vehicle takes us to the final drive reinforcements. Because of the design of the Tiger I, in which part of the final drive actually is exposed to the exterior, a reinforcement plate was designed. These reinforcement plates consist of a plate with several fasteners on them and are located in these lower extremities here of the Tiger I. These portions here are not included with the stock Taigen tank. However, there is an aftermarket detail set available which offers these parts in die cast. They are highly recommended and are a simple drop-in installation with no tweaking or fitting required. With the addition of the pieces, it greatly improves the look of the front of the vehicle. Moving back to the rear portion of the model, one improvement that was made by Taigen that is absent on the Henlong kit is that of the rear reflector, which is located here on the bottom portion of the vehicle. A simple drop of red paint greatly makes the piece highlighted and makes it pop over the rest of the tank's exterior. One carryover from the Henlong model that's a mistake that is found on the stock Taigen is that of the duplicate taillights. On the lower portion here, underneath the mud flap, is that of a convoy blue taillight. This taillight on German tanks is only found on this portion here of the vehicle. On the Henlong and the Taigen, there's another one of these taillights that are integrally molded into this portion here of the tank as well. This version here is inaccurate and was simply removed with a Dremel. Once removed, the accuracy of the model was improved. Also, as for painting, the tubular convoy light is a blue color. A simple drop of gloss blue greatly helps the look of it. Some other improvements to the plate that I made was that I added the tow hitch detailing. The stock tow hitch is simply casted in to the plastic. The piece has its lower fasteners added. I drilled out the portion for the tow hitch and actually fabricated the tow hitch pin out of a nail and a little bit of styrene. Moving up from here, another addition that I made was that of the lift bolts on either side of the exhaust armored cover. These bolts are absent on the stock Taigen model as well as on the Henlong, and once added also greatly help the accuracy of the piece. As for the jack, a simple detail that I added was that of the mounting straps. They were simply made out of bent pieces of steel and then were glued around the jack in order to give the look that we have here. Moving our way to the rear engine deck takes us first to the FIFO system. The FIFO system that you see here is identical to the ones found on the Henlong Tiger. One mod that I made to them was I removed and deleted the seams which are present on the two halves of the parts. As for the tubes themselves, the underneath portions are actually hollow. These were filled in with epoxy and then blended smooth, so that even if you look from a low angle of the rear portion of the tank, you will not see any gaps in the FIFO system tubing. Another mod that was made was that the FIFO systems are actually bolted together, and there is a small fastener hole located on this portion here of the FIFO canister. This is present on both sides. This hole was eliminated and sealed up with the bodywork, thus leaving for a seamless appearance that we have here. Moving our way to the model's exhaust system. The exhausts have been modified and having their puffer cap detailing added. The puffer cap detailing is added on both of the exhaust stacks. The detailing that you see here are actually a new addition to the EastCoastArmory.com product line. They are cast in resin and can be added to both the Henlong, Tamiya, or Taigen tanks. To add the piece to the Taigen tanks, however, you will need to remove some of the exhaust stack that protrudes for the exhaust hole. The part that protrudes is a little out of scale and needs to be trimmed away. In addition to trimming away, I went ahead and redid the bolt fasteners that you see that are mounted on the rain guard for the exhaust. With the puffer caps added, it both greatly improves the detail fidelity of the model, and also the puffer caps do not inhibit in any way of the smoke which protrudes from the smoke system when the tank is in operation. While on the engine deck, another nice feature that is stock with the Taigen tank is that of the photo etch grenade grill covers. These grenade grill covers are absent on the Henlong and the Tamiya, and in the past were needed to be purchased as an aftermarket component. With the Taigen, it comes out of the box with these nice details added, which is a very nice touch. Also, as of note, another nice improvement from the Taigen over the Henlong is that of the antenna base. On the Henlong, the antenna is located in this position here, behind the engine hatch, and is incorrect. If you were up detailing the Henlong, you would have to move the antenna base to the correct location over here, and then would require a little bit of body work to plug up the existing hole. On the Taigen, that's not the case, as it has the correct style German antenna base pre-molded into the upper deck. Also, one nice feature about the tank is that this version here does have a 2 GHz radio. With the 2 GHz radio, there is no need to have an external antenna or an umbilical cord connecting the upper body from the lower body. As for the antenna itself, this is scratch built by myself out of a piece of wire and a little bit of tubing. If we notice, the bottom portion of tubing is brass in color, and that is as per the real vehicles. While on the antenna, takes us to another carryover mistake from the Henlong, and that has to do with the antenna storage tube. The Tiger I on the right-hand side of the vehicle features a tube which is used to stow the antenna when not in use. This tube is only found on the right-hand side of the vehicle. However, on the stock Henlong as well as on the Taigen, this detailing is molded into this portion here of the vehicle. While working on the model, I went ahead and deleted the molded in antenna tube and sanded it flush with that of the rest of the tank's hull plate. Once removed, it also greatly improves the accuracy of the model. Another nice addition that comes stock with the Taigen that is absent on the Henlong is that of the S-mine launchers. The early production Tiger I had 5 S-mine launchers mounted on the upper hull. These S-mines would have been bolted to the tank in these 3 locations here on this side, and on only 2 of the locations on the opposite side. These pieces come with the kit and are adequately detailed out of the box. One quick modification that I made to them was I went ahead and added the cabling detailing that emerges from the rear portion of the S-mine and enters into the hull. The detailing is very simple to add. It's done with a Dremel and a little bit of wire. And again, once added, is another little trick that greatly helps the look of the model. While we're on this side of the model, it takes us to the tank's tow cables. The transport cable as well as the main tow cables are stock with the tank and are adequately detailed out of the box, and were simply just repainted, weathered, and added to the tank. As for the top deck tow cables, one quick modification I recommend is that on the real Tiger I there are 2 small little clamps located on the fan covers. The purpose of these little cleats is that it helps keep the cable stowed to the vehicle when in the stowed position. As to fabricate them, I simply took 2 little pieces of metal, bent them around the component, and glued them to the tank. In this scale, the 2 little straps help the look of the model and are acceptable for the scale that they are represented in. As for the center portion of the cable, as we can see here, this is where the gun cleaning staves would be stowed. This is a mirror image on the opposite side. And on the Tiger I, they would have been wood with brass end connectors. Simply painting the end connectors brass, as well as adding the wood texture and coloring to the staves, greatly improves the look of the model. Also modified from the stock Taigen is that of the Pioneer tools. The Pioneer tools that you see here are a aftermarket cast metal set, which was purchased from the vendors which are found in the description of the video. They are sized and scaled to work with the Taigen/Henlong vehicles and are simple drop and install. The kit, the original model, has these parts pre-molded in. To add them, I needed to delete the molded in ones and sand them flush via the bodywork. Once the stock tools were removed, the new drop-in ones were added. Now, unlike my last Tiki build, in which I used metal tools as well, that set was from a different supplier, and that set actually had the tool clamps molded into the piece. On these tools here, there is absolutely no clamps molded in, and all of the clamp detailing that you see here is all scratch built out of strips of metal that were added to the components. By adding the strips of metal also greatly improves the look of the model, in that you have to have these clamps on the Tiger I Pioneer tools. As for the wire cutter is missing from the aftermarket set that I use. The molded in one was also deleted, like I mentioned before. In its place, I went ahead and fabricated the clips and the mounts, which are used to stow the tool in this location here. Even though the tool is missing, at least the clamps are present. The set that I used also came with the fire extinguisher. The fire extinguisher was simply painted and added to the appropriate location that you see here. With the turret turned out of the way, you can see another detail that I added that's absent on pretty much all of the 1/16 and some of the 1/35 scale Tiger ones that are on the market. And that is of the center well line, which is on the upper deck. Like I mentioned in the 1/6 scale Tiger video, the Tiger I top deck is actually composed out of two symmetrical halves, and there's a center weld bead that welds them and conjoins them. The first weld bead is in the back portion here of the model, and the second weld bead is positioned right here in the front. The addition of this weld bead also greatly improves the look of the model. Unlike the Henlong, in which the two front bow hatches are molded to the top deck, on the Taigen, they're actually made to function. They are made out of die cast and feature a die cast hinge. Underneath the hatch here is actually the power switch in order to turn on the vehicle, which is a nice feature and an improvement over the Henlong, in which on the Henlong you'd have to reach on the bottom of the tank to try to find the power switch. Now, because this tank is an early production Tiger that has the rear FIFO system, getting access to the battery is going to be a little bit problematic. So rather than having the tank disassemble, in order to recharge the model, I went ahead and built in a recharge jack. The recharge jack is similar to that on my other 1/16 scale radio control builds that are on my channel. You simply open up the hatch, pull the pull tab, and out comes the recharge jack. Here you can recharge the battery without having to disassemble the model. After the battery is fully charged, you simply stuff the jack back into the model. Close the hatch, and you are now ready to run. To take the model apart, the Henlong features a little latch mechanism here that's spring-loaded. By pulling on this latch, it releases a lock mechanism that will allow you to remove the top deck of the model. Now that the model is fully painted, I'm not going to remove it for the purposes of this video. However, one other modification that I made to the model was adding reinforcement braces to the lower hull pan. Because this model has the die-cast turret, it adds a lot of weight to the model, and this weight is being distributed down into the lower suspension and makes contact via the plastic sponsons. Now, again, this version here is an early release Taigen. The current releases actually have the reinforcement straps pre-built in. As for this model, I fabricated the reinforcement straps out of strips of aluminum. They are bolted to the sponsons via flush mount bolts so that the tracks will not hit them when in operation. And the straps also greatly aid in preventing the sponson from drooping and dipping downward, causing stress to the lower. Also, if not checked, after prolonged use, the sponsons can eventually crack over time, as which these ones actually were. In addition to repairing the sponsons, I also have to reinforce them and epoxy them to make them one piece again, because of the cracks due to the weight of the turret. Another internal repair that was needed to be made to this model was that of the cooling fan. The Taigen electronics feature a small cooling fan that's located on top of the circuit board to keep all the electronics cool. On this model, the fan fell apart and was broken. A replacement fan was added, mounted in the exact same way, and was connected to the circuitry. The fan that's in the model now is a lot more robust and a lot more efficient than the original fan that came with the unit. Moving up to the turret takes us first to the tank smoke dischargers. The stock Taigen model comes with a very nice set of aluminum and brass smoke dischargers. They are a simple drop-in install, and no mods are needed to be made for the installation itself. The pieces are nicely detailed in that the front of the smoke ejectors do have their little notches present on them. However, the back portion of the smoke dischargers are lacking in any detailing. The detail that you see here were added by myself. I went ahead and added the fastener detail, which is present on each of the tubes, as well as the firing cable detailing, which is also absent on the stock version. The cables then emerge from the smoke ejectors, run to a larger conduit, to which then enters into the turret of the vehicle. This is a mirror image on the opposite side. Moving on up to the tank's cupola. The original cupola that came with the model was also damaged and was unrepairable. Because of the type of metal that's used on the stock parts, once they break, they are unable to be repaired. The version that you see here was an aftermarket set that is very common on the 116 component websites, and again was a simple drop-in installation. The old one was removed and the new one was added in its place. The new one consisted of both the hatch as well as the drum cupola. The hatch stop here is the original Taigen and simply was mounted to the hatch that we have here. This component here is very nicely detailed and is a step above the original Henlong units in that they have the top portion detailing. The hatch opens at the correct angle in relation to the vision slit, and it also contains all of the interior detailing that we see here. Just like with the Henlong, this unit here is airsoft equipped, and to load the airsoft gun, you simply put the BBs into the cupola, to which then they will flow into a hopper mechanism, and the kill switch for the airsoft is actually located in the loader's hatch. As for the model's paintwork, like I mentioned before, the model is a direct copy from the Tiki Tiger I that I built in my collection and have on the video listing. It is using the exact same paints, the exact same style of airbrushing, and the exact same style of weathering. Also, like on the other unit, all of the markings, namely the Tiki logo, as well as the tank's 812 numbering, are hand painted and hand applied. The 812, like I mentioned in the other video, the 8 is a different font from normal German numbers, and so hand painting it was the only option. Plus, hand painting the decals gives it for a more realistic look as compared to using a decal. One difference between the markings on this model compared to the other Tiki that I built was that of the cross. The ghosted cross that you see on this model here is actually hand applied with paint, while on the other vehicle a decal was used in place. The reason for hand painting the version on this model was because the decal that I had used on the other vehicle was a one-off component that I found in my spare decal box. And here go the two Tikis side by side. This model here is the one that has been in the video this whole time and is the one built for commission and is a Taigen. This one here is the one that I built for my personal collection, and this is the one that's seen in the video listings. This version here is the Henlong, that one's the Taigen. As you can see, visually the two look almost identical from this distance. It is only when you compare the two up close is when you start seeing the better details which are found on the Taigen, namely that of the suspension as well as some of the other fittings on the top deck that I mentioned earlier. Also, another huge difference between the two is the weight. The Taigen weighs a hell of a lot more than that of the Henlong, which is a featherweight in comparison. Both models do feature a working suspension, and both do run very well. The only difference, again, another difference between the two vehicles is that with the electronics, the Taigen features a lot more sophisticated electronics than that of this first generation Henlong. As we recall, the Henlong does not feature proportional drive and is only on and off. It's also important to note that this vehicle here is a first generation Henlong that came out around 2005. Since then, Henlong has improved this vehicle here to feature almost the same exact machinery that is found in this one. This vehicle here does have proportional drive, sound, and smoke, in addition to the machine gun firing, as well as the airsoft BB. Before taking the tank out for a test drive, I'm going to quickly go over the operating procedure. First, to start with, the tank comes with a radio. The radio on the Taigen is actually that of a 2 gigahertz radio, and like I mentioned before, it's nice and handy in that the antenna in the hull, the actual aerial antenna, is just for detail purposes, and there's no need for there to be an umbilical cord that connects the upper and lower bodies together. As for turning on the tank, like I mentioned before, the switch is in the front assistant driver hatch. As you can see, the tank is powered on via the two blinking LEDs. The tank's radio is also powered on. Now, to start the engine, that is done with this little toggle switch here. Just like with the Henlongs, this stick here is purely for operation and drive, while this stick here is for turret functions. To turn on the tank, or to drive the tank, you must turn on the toggle switch that turns on the engine. Now, the two things are going to happen. The engine sequence is going to activate, and smoke will start emitting from the smoke generator. Also, as of note, you can see that the lights are now a steady beam. When this happens, it means that the tank is now macro to the radio and the tank can be driven now. This switch here is for machine gun. This switch here turns the turret left and right. Going down will activate the gun elevation and depress. Now, just like on the Henlong, the gun is on a track circuit, so that the gun will first go down and then up. You cannot, unlike the Tamiya tanks, go up then down independently. This is because, again, the elevation is on a loop circuit that is only powered on once. To fire the airsoft gun, you go up on the radio, just like with the Henlong. Now, currently the switch is off. However, I will turn it on. If the tank had some BBs in it, it would have fired a round out of the main gun. I temporarily killed the engine by hitting the toggle switch. Now, it's also important to note that because of the extra weight on this tank, it will move a lot more slower and sluggish compared to its lighter weight Henlong counterpart. In addition to the weight, this tank also features a proportional speed controller, which is, again, something that's an improvement from the original first generation Henlong versions. I will now restart the engine and take the tank for a spin. And that concludes this model showcase video for this 1/16 scale radio-controlled German early production Tiger I. If you like this video, stop by and like us on Facebook. And don't forget to check out eastcoastarmory.com for more 1/6 and 1/16 scale builds and detail components. Thank you.